Just Eff It. Hi, I'm Romy.
Hi, and I'm Carla.
And together we are the
EFFing
Madres. We are here to invite you guys into stories of some inspiring madres
who have changed their lives through an Eff It moment. So here we go. Just Eff It.
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
Monday Madres.
Motivation, camaraderie, all the M's.
All the things. Community. Who are we, Carla?
We're the EFFing Madres. I'm Carla. She's Romy. We're two moms that decided to say Eff It. We started this podcast to talk to other moms who have decided to say Eff It or are going through their Eff It moment or want to have this Eff It moment because it is very inspiring to hear when someone has gone through this or they're going through it, that mental mind shift. And so what we're hoping is creating a community of madres, supporting madres through these big Eff It moments, because they are life-changing, and whatever the outcome, you learn and you're changed no matter what it is. So very important, and we all either have had them or are going to have them or going through them like we are. So
yeah. No, well said. That is who we are. And, we have a really special guest today. This is somebody that's really close to my heart because I'm actually doing motherhood with her. We are our own motherhood community. And sometimes, as we say, it takes a village, which is very common in many cultures, to raise somebody. And so we have Brittany on, and Brittany has stepped into the role as my daughter Frankie's stepmom. So she's been parenting with me for the last, I want to say 3 or 4 years. And I'm really excited to get to chat with her. And for all you mamas out there who are step parents, adopting parents, foster parents, we see you, we acknowledge you, and we want our stories, your stories, everyone's stories as a mother, how we come into motherhood to be shared. So I'm really excited to talk to her today.
Nice. All right. Well, we're going to bring her in just a second.
Okay, everybody, we have Brittany here. Welcome, Brittany. We all had a few technical difficulties, almost smashed some computers and phones, but we're here.
We made it. We did it. Thanks, y'all.
Yeah, I don't know about, is Mercury in retrograde right now? Because if it was, then that would explain a lot of shit.
Yeah, I asked that the other day, but I'm too scared to verify. So.
Okay, so let's get into our questions, Brittany. All right, so when did you decide to just Eff It, and why?
So I would say 2020 was probably there's a lot of Eff It's going on in 2020, but for me, I would say right when the pandemic hit, it was kind of like a moment where, Frankie's dad and I were already kind of talking about future plans, but that whole pandemic situation really kind of we were like, okay, do we just do this now? And so, 2020, I was like, all right, fuck it. We got to hunker down together. And, so that would be the moment that I really stepped into it. But, there was a cascade of fucking events before all of that, before these wonderful people came into my life that,
I know that you guys moved in together during 2020. I think we were all hunkering down, with our partners. We were scared. I remember you guys moving in together. And so do you think, and be completely open, I hope you know, you and I are so open and honest with each other. When you moved in that time and knew that you guys were moving in together, she was going to be home with you guys for most of that time, which is such a new time as a couple,
right,
to all of a sudden be together, move in together, and then have a child there that's with you pretty much full time.
Yeah.
I mean, at that point, would you say that's when you really were just like, fuck it,
for sure. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Because we were we had no idea what was going to happen. I still had several months on my lease. I had my apartment. So I was well, what, I'm going to go home and stay alone. We just didn't know how to navigate it. And I had been out of town. I had been out of town, and my animals were all at his house already because he was watching them while I was out of the country. And when I got back, it was the day everything shut down. So my cat was there. My dog was there. I'm I'm just going to go get some shit, and we're going to just figure it out, I guess. I mean, I had already, spent a lot of time with Frankie, but never I never stayed over. It was all really new. So we were okay, so
and that was I really want to acknowledge this for any stepmoms listening. And I know you're really want to as well. that was like before. So for any new mamas coming into the dynamic after a couple is going through a divorce or a separation, there's a really fragile period there.
Yeah.
And we didn't know what we were doing. Like, I've clearly been on my own hurrah since then, but like at that point, none of us knew what we were doing or how to navigate somebody coming into the child's life after a divorce.
Yeah.
So I know you, me, and him we're all just kind of like, what is this? Like, okay.
Well, and I think you and I had just spoken for the first time like a month or two before. So it was, you know what I'm saying? Like we like, I think, like if I remember correctly.
And I want people listening, and Carla, for you, Brittany was really amazing and sent me like an email introducing herself, letting me know who she was, like basically letting me know she was a normal human being that was coming into like Frankie's life. And it was so respectful, and it's been so respectful. So I love that like you came in during 2020, which there couldn't have been a better time for you to bond with her.
Probably not. And she thought I was just her dad's friend. Like even probably in the beginning because they had gone to Asheville right before, and she told her grandparents like, Daddy's best friend is Brittany. And like, so anyway, it was just like, it was totally a new thing for everyone. Like I mean, she was little.
She was just turning like 3 about this time. And just for those of you listening, she's going to be 7 in June. So this has been a good amount of time that you've been in her life and been with her.
Yeah.
When you decided to really say F it and really step into that role, what did you do about it? Like, how did you go about when you really started to bond with her as her, like a parent, as a mother figure? What did you do to do that?
I think even from the very beginning, I just followed her lead with everything. Like I didn't come in there like, I'm your new mom. Like, you know what I mean? I didn't ever even say like, I just tried to be her friend. And I think I have a lot of experience with that through my work because I work with little kids and families. And I know that like she was going through a lot of changes. And so I didn't want to be this like overpowering figure in her life. I wanted her to trust me. And like, I just tried to just follow her lead. And like, you know, she took to me really quickly. And part of that, like, yeah, I don't know. You know, I was just like, I don't want to like come on too strong, too fast, like with her. I don't want it. I don't know. I followed her lead as much as I could and let her kind of like guide our relationship. And so it's been like, it's changed a lot over time and evolved a lot, like the closer that we've gotten, you know?
You're like the ideal stepmom.
Well, you know, like
I have heard horror stories.
Me too. I was thinking about that too, because I'm like, I don't really know many step parents. Like I have one friend who is a step parent, but it's not every week. It's like here and there. So I did reach out to her a lot with help, and she really helped me, like, you know, because in her life, she's like, me and my stepkid's mom are the ones who do all the planning. And like, I promise you, if you can like get to this point where you're in a good place and like, it'll be so much more efficient, like for you and Romy to like, you know what I mean? Like just kind of.
Yeah, you know, and it has. And I want to follow up with that because I think it's an important conversation. I know it's different for you, Carla, because you don't have a step parent that you're working with. You're not co-parenting with another family. I grew up with step parents, so it's very normal to me.
Yeah.
I had a very blended home. So step parents to me is part of parenthood. It's all I know.
Yeah.
So I'm not like, it's not new to me, you know,
right.
So this is how you do it. I've always said, and I've seen a lot of my girlfriends through their separations and their exes and their partners, it is a nightmare. And I'm like, y'all making this crazy. Like this is for me, at least. And I feel like that with you, Brittany, it's always been, I think it's important to say that, like, it's always been about Frankie. So
yeah.
she's the priority. So
right.
if you and I can work together and like figure out how to do, because we're going to have to,
right?
Why make it bad?
No. Yeah. And like, it's also like important to say too, there was never an environment in her dad's house that was negative about you. Like it's never been like that. Like, you know, I walked into a situation that like I know was difficult for the grown-ups at, you know, certain points, but like the kid was always like at the center of everything. And so it was really pretty easy to just step in and be like, she's fun to hang out with. I'll just make her food, you know, like immediately she had me in the kitchen cooking all day. And I was like, okay, whatever, like, sure, you know?
I mean, it should be if you're going to be a co-parenting stepmom, mom, whatever thing, like it should be about the kid.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, like there's a lot of resentment built up from the couples and the new person coming in. So it doesn't seem like that happens too often. So you
No.
guys have like a very nice, like
Yeah.
very, very lucky that you have such a great dynamic.
It is really lucky. And I think like I just felt so lucky to like find like just her dad, you know, felt so lucky to find him and like and everything. So it felt like, I don't know, like I just felt so lucky really in the whole situation. And I don't know. Yeah.
I want to follow that though. Like for me as a mom and for all the moms listening, all we want is for our children to be loved and cared for. So if somebody's going to come into my child's life, which is inevitable, we're no longer together, right? That's the decision. I hope that they love my child and want to love my child. You know, I hope that they're bringing love, because the opposite of that would be so hard if somebody came in and didn't love my child or resented my child or resented me as the mom.
Yeah.
So like, I wish more parents, and I hope those listening, like, if you choose to separate, that decision was yours, but that child in the middle has nothing to do with that.
Right.
And I couldn't be happier that you have chosen to love her like your own. You know, that you've taken her on as your own, because I feel safer when she's there.
Yeah.
I feel like she's in good hands. I love that you and I can communicate because I can trust you as that parent in her life. And I love that, like, in both homes, there's never negative talk. I have pictures of you up on the fridge. You guys have pictures of me in the house. Frankie feels like these are her homes and these are her families.
Yeah.
And like, you make her dad happy. I didn't. So like, it's a win-win for her to see her father happy.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I spent my whole professional life working with kids and families, and like, no matter what, kids love their parents. And I would like, from the beginning, I was like, she loves her mom. She should love her mom. I do not want to get in the way of that. I would never try to replace her mom. Some people go out and try to do stuff like that. It's crazy. Like, heard stories like that. And I've even, there were, you know, times where like going to school where people are like, who are you? Are you her babysitter? And I'm like, no, I'm not. Cause we kind of had to like come to the conclusion together. Like, well, I'm her bonus parent. I'm like a stepmom.
That's exactly what we did. Yeah. For those listening, you know, Brittany picks Frankie up half the time. So Brittany and I are 50-50. And this is what I said at like, we're 50-50. So she's doing 50% of what I'm doing. So we're essentially doing the same time and role with Frankie. So her influence and who's raising her is the two of us as two women, as two mother figures in her life. Yes, I am her mother, you know, and you are her bonus mom, but we're planning the uniforms. We're figuring out what, you know, where she goes. We're helping each other on days off. People were coming up at school, Carla, and being like, who's this girl picking her up? So confused.
They're like, but I thought you had a mom. I'm like, she does have a mom. She absolutely has a mom. Yes, she does.
And then finally in the text, we were like, well, this is her bonus mom. And that's where it just kind of came in. And I love that word because I've heard other families use it. A bonus mom. Like, how lucky for you that you get an extra mom.
Right. Yeah. And the conversations her and I have around it, she's just so smart and so sweet, because we'll get in the car and I was like, man, your friends are confused by what's going on here, huh? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, but we're not confused, right? You have a mom, you have a dad, and you have me. I'm like an extra bonus parent. She's like, yeah, it's really not that confusing. I'm like, I know. But a lot of kids don't see that, like, at her school. I don't know. I'm just kind of, I'm like, as much as their divorce is prevalent and all of that, I'm like, man, it is kind of like, I don't know. I would think I would know more people or know more kids, but
I wonder how much of that confusion is stemming though from like conversations from their house, you know, like the parents being like, what's going on in that family, you know?
Who knows? I mean, I mean, and some of the school friends, every now and then they're like, oh, I'm going to put you in my phone as Brittany. I'm like, do not put me as Charles's girlfriend. I will kill you. That's like, call me anything but that, just because I'm like, that's just like, I don't know. It just sounds so like junior high school.
Right. Yeah.
What's really happening, you know, in our lives. But
once you decided that you were just going to fully do this, like what sort of emotions, what sort of thoughts were running through your head when you finally made that decision to step into this role?
Well, of course, like naturally, like for me, I was like, am I going to be like good enough for this position? Like, you know what I mean? I had like a lot of self-doubt, like, am I really ready? Like, how do I know? Am I going to like fuck this up? And also like dealing with an immense amount of stress from like COVID and work. I was like, I was just struggling in a lot of ways to find like my alone time because I came from a situation where I lived by myself. I got home, I shut the door, and like no one existed. And my like alone downtime tuning out thing was like everything to me, and it was gone. And I was just like, shit, how do I like, I don't want her to ever feel like I need her to get the heck away from me or anything like that. But like, there were times where I felt like, I just gotta get out of here. Like, whoa, like, you know what I mean? And like, so yeah, that like, yeah, just thinking I might not be good enough or thinking like things were seeping into my head, like thoughts I was having that I wasn't prepared for, like kind of around having your own personal space and time, that I was like, starting to get a little freaked out. Like, is this where like you become your mom or something? Like you're finally in the situation and then you just like revert to like these things that you thought you would never do because you're just like, you don't know what you're doing necessarily. It's kind of hard to jump into something without like a manual, I guess, too.
Brittany, what you're saying is exactly how moms feel. Just so you know, like we also all of a sudden we're like, am I my mom? Am I doing this right?
Yeah.
Holy shit, I need space. I love you to death, but like,
get the fuck away from me.
Yeah, am I a bad person that I'm just like, I had to talk to my therapist because I'm like, I'm having these intrusive thoughts that like I just like want to tell everyone to get the fuck away from me, and he's like, that's normal.
No, that's normal.
Like, oh. Okay, cool, but like I never do it, obviously.
Yeah.
You know, just I'm like, I would come home from work like in the pandemic times, and I was like, okay, here's the deal. I come home and Charles is at home already all morning with her, you know. I was like, when I come home, I have to have 30 minutes. I'm going to come in. I got to change. I got to shower. I got to like do a Zen thing. Because when she was 3, so she was at the age where like you got to play with her. Yes. Like she's not playing by herself, you know? And I was like, oh man, like it was an interesting age to jump in. I didn't know. Like,
you were at such a fragile age when you stepped into that role because 3, and Carla, you're in that, like, you know, 3 is such a very needy role. And for somebody, I mean, all moms aren't ready for it. Let's just be real. No mom, once that baby comes out, it's our baby, but like, we're not really ready for that shit. I mean, I was in tears. Carla couldn't connect to save her life. I didn't know what I was doing. Like, you know, it was traumatic. Like no one warns you about the trauma of like all of a sudden being a mom and losing your entire who you are. So for you to go from like your single life on your own to all of a sudden like you're living with your partner, you know, and you've got a 3-year-old
all freaking day. I'm like, I hope I can hide in a place that like I'll never be found. Like, what if that happens?
Yeah.
Because I really was. I had like just stepped into my, like before I met them, I had just like stepped into my power finally. And I'm like, I went to Italy. I'm like, I'm going to like move there. Like, I'm going to do whatever I want. And then I was like, wait a second. I don't want to pass up this like amazing opportunity. And so, yeah, I had those moments where I was like, I could just like pack my bag and like.
That's gone, B. That's gone. You can't go.
It's scary because you're just like, okay, this is there. Yeah. I mean,
and that's what I mean by that you stepped into this by choice, because like, yes, I mean, like some of us did choose to become pregnant. Some of us maybe not necessarily, but like you obviously, as you go through the pregnancy journey, you accept it. But like, but also you are going through the pregnancy journey and you doubt it. You're like, oh my God, I can't do this ever again. What the fuck? Like, at least you were like, I could just back out of this and I could go on that trip to Italy, but I'm not gonna. I'm just gonna stay. So
do it. I really didn't realize like how hard it is for parents. Like, cause I mean, I spent all day with kids, but I got to go home. I didn't have to put anyone to bed. Like I joke around when I'm leaving work. I'm like, okay, I'm going to my second job now. Cause it's like, you get home and you can't take your shoes off. You got to make dinner, clean the kitchen, get in the back, like all the things. So I had to like, I'm not regimented at all. I'm lazy sometimes. And I was like, dude, I gotta get on the ball. Like, seriously. I mean, I had struggled with that for real. Like, okay,
and that's what I think is important for people to hear. Like, and like you said, Carla, like you chose to go into this role. And what a sweet thing one day for Frankie to really understand that, like, I chose to be your mama. Like, I actually signed up for that and wanted that. I could have been in Italy living my free life, drinking wine, but like I made a decision to stay, love your father and love you. Like, that's really special.
We'll save that for the teenage years. I'm just kidding. When she's like, I hate you.
Romy, I know that you normally ask this next question, but this next question goes to the both of you, which is, what did it do for you and your family?
Yeah, I like this question. I'm like, well, it created a family.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, and especially like Charles and I were in a situation where we were able to kind of create the family that we both wanted. And that was beautiful, and like kind of heal together on a lot of things. And then on top of it, like, with Romy, and like we are a family. We talk about it all the time with Frankie, and she knows it. And it's just like, it's just special to like, I don't know, it's so unconventional for me, like, and for a lot of people, but for us, it's like, it feels, you know, Frankie has her moments where she, you know, wants everyone to live in the same house or these things, but like, you know, we just talk through it. And I think she does feel grateful for what she has. Like,
that little girl is so loved, and she loves both homes. And so she will come to me and say, I miss daddy so much. And then she has a hard time leaving me. I miss you so much. So there's still the struggle between two homes and a divorce. It's never easy. She wants us to all live together, and bless her heart, that's like some next level shit we're not ready for. But she's ready for us all. And it's not that she wants Brittany gone. It's not that she wants mommy and daddy together. It's just she doesn't want to go from home to home and miss anybody. Right. That's all that is.
Exactly. Yeah.
And she said to me last week, which I thought was so funny because we were having you on, but she was like, you know, Brittany's not going to have any kids, Mom, because it hurts. So she says, I'm the kid. And I was like, Brittany took the best route she could, which by the way, Brittany.
I'm like, wait a second.
Yeah, she comes to me, she goes, Brittany's not going to have any of her own. That hurts her. So I'm her kid, and she didn't have to go through the pain.
Well, that's good to know that that's what she thinks, I guess, because I've never said that to her, but I'm like, hey, she's not like completely wrong.
How funny that you've never said that to her and she said that, because she keeps asking for a sibling, and I keep telling her to talk to y'all, and she's like, no, I'm their kid.
She knows. Okay. She's like, I'm not. I'm like, I don't know, man. Siblings, it's like, yeah, that's a whole nother podcast.
but to answer that question, Carla, it did create a family. I think by everybody putting their own personal shit aside, I think this is an important message, and being selfless to the child, which I am so grateful that no matter what things come up in our lives, Frankie is always the priority, and making sure she feels loved and safe by all of us. She has never had to witness arguments or fights or be torn between which home or who loves her. None of that exists between us. And so, yes, it's not maybe your husband and wife family with your kid, but like, fuck all of that. We say that enough on here. Like, families can look however the fuck they want to look. Love is complicated. Marriage is complicated. Relationships are complicated. Us as women are complicated. So like, as long as the child is loved and in safe homes, we're fucking killing it. Because there's a lot of families that are like a married couple with a kid, and that's not a good home for their kid.
Yes.
I know that story. I'm like, there are some situations where people stay together and it is not good for their kids.
No.
At all. And I've seen some really toxic, like, breakup situations with parents where they're like, oh my God. And it's just such a nightmare for the kids. I remember I have another parent friend who read a book when she went through a separation, and it was like, what did it say? Like, anytime you say something negative about the kid's other parent, it's like shooting an arrow through their heart and then into that person. So I like, that stuck with me, because I'm like, that's cruel.
Yeah, I am a product of that type of divorce.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me
so
too.
So well,
not divorce, but just everyday existence.
It's
I'm
terrible.
like, I don't. Yeah, and then your kids feel scared. They don't feel safe. Like, it's scary enough not being with your mom every night. You know, like, why make it harder on someone? Like, I just.
Yeah, I mean,
never.
we've come far, and there's growing pains for those of you listening. It doesn't happen overnight, but you have to be
No.
open to it. You've got to work for it. You have to put yourself aside for it, because we just did our first Christmas together where they came over and we all spent it together Christmas morning, where she was able to be with both families. And that's special for these kids because that's all she wants for Christmas. Those
Right.
presents aren't going to be remembered when she throws them fucking away every 5 minutes, wants a new one. But the
Yeah.
memory of her family
Right.
on Christmas, doing karaoke, putting her gifts together, that shit matters. And in the world we live
Yeah.
in right now, where there is so much fucking chaos going on, your home base and how these kids are raised with love is what our future generations are. And I hope to God that they're like way more loved and giving of love than the generation we grew up in, because we're all trying to fucking heal that broken shit because no one knew what the fuck they were
Yeah.
doing.
Mm-hmm.
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, we're definitely, I think we're doing such a good job creating a safe place for her. And then it's so cool to me too, because I'm like, to have 3 different people or, to like go to, like, even in the future, like, I've been through a lot of shit. You have her dad, like, she has all these like resources, like, just ready to help her and like guide her in her life. And like, we're all open, like, it's just like, oh man, I wish I had that. But like, here we are, we get to like recreate kind of, the things we didn't have, or I didn't have, I don't think, like, it's cool.
I'm curious, as you've stepped into this role, do you have any fears that come up for you as being a stepmom to Frankie?
I think my fears are more around like growing up in a world that's a giant piece of crap, basically. Like, I just, like, I get scared. You don't know what's going to happen in the future, and just teenage years. And like, I remember how I was as a teenager, and like, if that shit comes back to haunt me, I'm going to be really in trouble. Like, I did not handle that well, but I was in a different kind of environment. Like, no one was talking to me about how I feel. You know what I mean? I was like, didn't talk about how you feel. You just watch MTV and like,
yeah,
I don't know. It was,
I think our generation and younger, and I've said this many times before, we've talked about this, is that I think because we're so much more aware and mindful of like what we don't want to repeat from our parents and like past generations, I do think that the youth today is going to grow up a totally different breed. I do think so. Like, they are going to be in touch with their emotions. They are going to be more communicative. They are going to speak up for themselves. And I feel like it'll be different. I mean, sure, hormones are definitely going to play a big part
right,
in, like it being terrible sometimes, but
right.
I do feel like they're going to have more tools and more coping
I
skills.
think so.
Yeah.
I see that now because I run a preschool, so I have employees that are like 20 years old, and I'm just like, I so badly want to be like, let me tell you all the things not to do, but they're all so self-aware, and they're all so kind and accepting. Like, that generation, like, they, all the things we like struggled with talking about, they all know how to talk about it. They take people as they are. So that's nice. It's just like social media.
Girl, don't even get me into that
happen.
with, that's going to be a whole podcast on like our children and social media. Cause I will say, thank God, like, as a family unit, you and I and Charles, that our homes stay pretty same when it comes to those things with her, so that there's not a lot of confusion to what the message is. And the message has felt, and I mean, correct me if you think I'm wrong, Brittany, but I feel like it is open. We're all here to talk to you about whoever you feel comfortable going to with anything. You go to that person. And we do try and remove as much external shit from her. And the beautiful thing I love about our family is that everyone's really supportive in keeping Frankie young, her age.
Yeah.
No one's trying to get her to grow up too fast or put her in a world that is out there, like the scary world that you said, that like together, I have the same fears, as like, what's it going to look like? So, as a stepmom and as a mom, those fears are the same, even for Carla, like even for, like, what's going to happen in the world? Like,
And
who are they going to become?
right. And how do I answer some of the questions she asked me already? I'm like, shit, like, this is my moment, but like, I don't know what to say. Like she came in the other day and was like, am I fat or skinny? And I was like, I'm just like, like, I don't even know where you're, and she was like, my mom doesn't like the word fat. I'm like, I don't either, because I don't, neither one. You're the way that you look, just exactly how you're supposed to look. I don't know. But like, I'm like, what? And part of me is just like, who's talking about this stuff? They start talking about that little kids at school.
That's the hard part though. Like we can only do so much. But once they go out into the wild, they're gonna get influenced by everybody. I'm just hoping, and I think it's gonna be very helpful that all of us and parents out there who are really trying to put that really strong foundation down, that will make a difference in the long run. Like they will have, be able to like decipher what is better than other things, but it is tough. That's a very scary thing to be like, oh my God, my kid's gonna be in someone else's hands. What are they going to teach them? What are they going to learn? So yeah, that's very scary.
And you just like, you don't want to say the wrong, I mean,
totally.
Saying the wrong, like, I don't know. I'm like, I was like, you're 7, Frankie.
Yeah.
7-year-olds are not fully grown yet.
Yeah.
They look how they're supposed to look. You look exactly how you're supposed to look. Yep. And we love the way you look. And she's like, which one is it? I'm like, she like wanted an answer. And I'm like, oh my God.
Oh my God.
And she's like, what are you? I'm like, I don't think about that. This is just the way that I look.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, you're doing the best because she is. And Carla, these questions, we just had a whole episode about looks. And it was on Monday. We had an episode air that was like all about, looks and beauty and our daughters and women and the things we say and the words that matter and making sure we don't, do that. And I can't imagine, again, just to close this up, but I can't imagine co-parenting with a woman that was putting those thoughts and things into my child's head as I'm trying to make sure my child doesn't feel that way. So the fact that you and I are both like, you're beautiful as you are and like you're smart and that you and I aren't putting a lot of pressure on her could you imagine if like one home was doing that and one home wasn't?
Oh my God, that would be a nightmare. That would be a nightmare.
And especially when you would kind of have like such little control over that, like,
and that poor kid getting like getting pulled. It's like a tug of war of like, well, what is it? Yeah.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Oof.
Yeah. No. Well, this would be like our final question for you. And I think it's important for any moms and stepmoms or people that are, anyone who's getting into a relationship right now with somebody who has a kid and you don't have a kid. What is your advice? What advice would you give them for stepping into this kind of role?
I would say tread very carefully. Like you really have to think about what you're doing. Think about that there's a little kid on the other side of all this stuff. So you don't, don't take the situation lightly. And I think following kids' leads is the best thing you could do is, show it. They have a voice. You respect them. You're here to be their friend. You want to partner with them. You care about both of their parents because those are the people that care about them. And just focusing on supporting them, especially through, transitions and not getting to live with both people. I just always want to make sure that I'm a supportive person and not someone who's just adding to what could be difficult for a little kid, So read some books on brain development or something. I don't know.
I think that's great advice. And I think that it's really important for, I know this as I've dated and as you guys came in and you guys are I just want to say that honestly, you guys are doing such a beautiful job. And I'm so grateful that Frankie has the family that I've told you this, that I want to create, I'm still trying, but you guys have created that. And I see that in your unit and your family. And it's so special. And I'm so grateful for it. And I know she is. So there, she gets to have that.
For sure. But the reason this situation also works so well is because of you. On the other side, there's evil stepmothers, but then there's the other side where people are get the heck away from my kid, and true. It just starts off hard. And you've been so open and inviting and we're so lucky. I feel lucky all the time. And people that I talk to are well, how's it with the mom? It's great.
Yeah.
What do you think? I'm gonna spill some tea here about my life? Nah, I don't think so. But for real though, I'm we're so lucky.
Yeah, I hope that any moms listening, if you are able to put yourself aside, I've said this so many times, and think about the kid and think about what's best for your kid. If you guys separated, that was because that was what was best for your family. So everything from that step on needs to be what's best for your family. There is no point in separating if it's that hard, only to add more trauma and pain and fighting. What is the point? You might as well stay together and ruin the kid that way, you know? So, you know what I mean? Like, so you might as well make it work. And Brittany, I'm like so grateful that again that you are her bonus mom. I love doing this with you. I'm so grateful that you came on to our podcast and like we're open to this and sharing this because there's a lot of mamas out there. It's a divorce land, guys. This is the world we live in, and people are coming into homes with children.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're the most important thing. I mean,
do you have any like links? You don't have to, any podcasts. Do you have anything that you would send anybody to listen to for like child development or something like that?
You know, I listen, I'm trying to think. I can't, it's like, I have so much stuff, but I can't access any of it in my head right now. I've just been doing it for so long that along the way, I've like just picked up so much information, but there's a lot of information, just brain development and kids and how important it is to establish like connections with them before you're really able to like do any of the other things.
Carla, do you have anything else to say?
No, other than thank you and sharing your story.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming on.
Guys.
Appreciate it.
Thank y'all for having me.
Yeah.
All right. This is the part where we're each going to say,
just F it.